This is the home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking. Woo. Well. Looks like we're going to have ourselves a little grilling session today because I was sent a link from a couple of common Joes and common Sallies in the know, even more so than all the media talking heads, that being from John Ritchie and Courtney Taylor, about this podcast called the OrangeBloods, which I hadn't heard of them until just the other day. But basically, this podcast reported another podcaster by the name of Owen Cano for criticizing them and using a few of the clips. I don't think it was about the clips. I think it's more about the criticism, but that's how they went about doing it. Because this lead guy that runs the podcast named Ketch, who looks like a Whataburger Coke guzzling diabetic coma waiting to happen, as you can see in this picture. Basically, this guy was going back and forth with a guy by the name of Anwar Richardson. And Anwar, I think, is a Texas guy too, but he made a lot of sense. There are good Texas fans out there after all. But Ketch was just trying so hard to make everybody believe that now that they're in the SEC, that Texas just isn't concerned with Oklahoma, that Oklahoma just means less to them. And it should be the other way around. And all this guy did, the entire podcast, was talk out of both sides of his mouth and look like a semantics inferior jackass. Let's talk about it. Here they come again, once again, riding on in. It's the Outlaw Posse. Now, in effect. And today's four horsemen shout-outs go to Jack Acker, Trucking with Cliff, Zach Hamner, Mark Clark, and we're going to have a fifth horseman today, that being Tim Gillespie, as we don't have a comment of the day. And if you ever want to be on the show or you have ideas for the show, I can be reached on Twitter, aka X, at OCF Productions. And if you want to be in the Outlaw Posse and get your random four horsemen shout out like those guys just did, as well as possibly be the comment of the day, you can hit that join button next to the subscribe button. It's not for $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw. And then there's also the big four: like, share, comment, and subscribe. And all of those are absolutely free. Now, getting right to it. Like we got a little disingenuous chatter going on this podcast called Young Bloods, especially by the supposed lead guy, that being Ketch. Him and, like I said in the lead up, Anwar Richardson were bandying back and forth the topic that maybe the Red River rivalry, it means less now. It don't mean as much to Texas anymore. And then he would try to insert, a sort of trying to walk it back kind of deal where he would say, and Oklahoma should feel the same exact way. Well, Ketch, like I said in lead up, you're semantically inferior with your wording. You would say that it was important, but it wasn't important. You'd say, oh, I'm not saying the game's not important. I'm just saying it means less. That's the same damn thing, Ketch. If you say something means less, that means it's not as important. So you absolutely saying the game's not as important to y'all anymore. All y'all doing is going to the SEC now. Texas thinks now they can just hide behind the SEC shield, and their emasculation with Oklahoma and the mental emasculation that's going on with Oklahoma will somehow find its way out of their head when it's not. Because let me give you a little education on the SEC, Ketch. Since you're new to the SEC and you think that rivalries don't matter, or, in your words, mean less, which is the same thing, jackass. But we'll just let you think that it ain't, because in all reality it is. Why don't you ask Tennessee how important beating Alabama is? It doesn't matter if Tennessee wins the SEC title, the national championship that week. That week, it absolutely matters. And in recruiting, it absolutely matters. Just like in the Texas-Oklahoma game, Oklahoma beats Texas again this year, you'll see that it absolutely matters what that game does and what happens in that game. Just like with Alabama and Auburn. Just like with Georgia and Auburn. Just like with Florida and Georgia. Ask them teams if those games mean less because they're in the SEC. I mean, that's got to be the biggest absolute jackass argument I've ever heard in my entire life about just about anything college football in quite some time. And not only that, on top of that, you get your little feelings hurt and wet your diaper and start chugging. Like I said earlier, got a little picture of him here, chugging on a damn Whataburger cup in the middle of the show, looking like a diabetic coma waiting to happen. You can tell the guy was reaching so bad. He wanted everybody to see his point of view to the point that he was monopolizing conversation numerous times. It was hard to watch because he would continuously come back to the same thing. And Anwar Richardson would continually tell him the same thing, that no, man, it doesn't mean less. No, it doesn't mean less. It actually means more. That now not only is it the Red River rivalry, but now the Red River rivalry is taking place in the biggest conference in America. And then you say, well, it just means less. I'm not saying it's not important. It just means less. Once again, it's the same thing. And all this is to me is disingenuous emasculation on his part as a Texas fan. Some Texas fans are great, like Anwar Richardson, in my opinion. And some of them have that hidden emasculation that they want Oklahoma's dominance of them and them living rent-free in their head. I hate to even say that phrase because it's overused, but living rent-free in their head. Yeah, y'all blew them out a couple of seasons ago because they were in the middle of a transition from being absolutely reamed by shady britches out there in Los Angeles, that being TBOW, the bitch out west, Linky boy, Lincoln Riley. And then things settled in, and once again, they spanked your ass. 17-8 once again. 8-17 for you, Texas. And like numerous Oklahoma fans have pointed out to me that, yeah, most of Texas's wins come pre-World War II against Oklahoma. And since then, it's basically been all about Oklahoma. And this guy even admitted it and said it a couple of times. It was sort of embarrassing for him. I was cringing for him, to be honest with you. He said a couple of times, come out of his own mouth, that Oklahoma was their daddy. Like, damn, man, I know you didn't mean to say that, but you just said it. And that's all it boils down to. They made the playoffs this year, so they're trying to say, well, that game just Oklahoma lost. We don't even care about it. And he was just reaching so hard. I took some notes here. He even said, how long has it been since y'all talked about Oklahoma? And like 5 months for me. Well, you're a Texas podcaster. You're supposed to talk about Oklahoma every week. If you were talking about Oklahoma every week before these 5 months, then obviously, like I said, you're emasculated and you don't want to admit it. Emasculated so bad, as I said before, to the point that you went and tattled on Ona Kano for criticizing you and using a few of your little trivial ass clips. You should have just used that clip if you guzzling that damn Whataburger cup down, because that was pretty epic. But basically all this boils down to, class, is this guy is one of those Texas fans that's been emasculated by Oklahoma. The shit's playing in his head, and now he sees the SEC being a way out of that emasculation. Well, it don't really matter if we beat Oklahoma anymore. Oh, it matters. It matters, or you wouldn't be talking about it. And that's all I got to say about that. If you don't mind, like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, there's a little heart down here if you want to make a one-time donation to the program, help keep the lights on like old 56 Timer did last podcast. Smash that heart, throw a few dollars in the coffers, and as I said earlier before, you can also join the Outlaw Posse. It's not $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. You'll get your badge, you get deputized, get your random Four Horsemen shout-out, as well as possibly be the comment of the day. I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.